So, welcome to our brand new lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover that day's newspaper within a span of 20 minutes. So, in a very short time. Hence, we have used the word shorts in the title. Now, today's newspaper was July 3rd, 2024's newspaper. Today is Wednesday. And what were the important news items that were covered, that featured in today's newspaper? Let's take a look at the topics of the day. All right. So, today, there were four very important topics that we need to cover. Very important. These were very important for your civil services examination. So, number one was that recently Lok Sabha was adjourned sine die. Now, what is this adjourned sine die or adjournment sine die? Right? This is done by the presiding officer of the House. So, in case of Lok Sabha, it is Speaker, and in case of Rajya Sabha, it is the Chairman of the House. Now, what is adjourned sine die? We'll take a look at that. Then, recently, Ministry of Mines has said that we will come out with a PLI scheme for critical minerals. PLI scheme for critical minerals, which will boost circular economy. Okay, so PLI scheme to boost circular economy, we'll take a look at that. Then, recently, United Nations Cooperation for Trade and Development (UNCTAD) report on global trade has come out. So they have pointed out a few things about global trade, few optimistic things, few pessimistic things. So we'll discuss all of that. And recently, in the Lok Sabha session, the leader of opposition, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, in his first speech as leader of opposition, he actually referred to a thing in Indian culture called Abhay Mudra. While making his political speech, he referred to Abhay Mudra, which is a very important part in Indian culture, part of Indian culture, in fact, very important part of Indian sculpture making. Okay, so what is this Abhay Mudra? How did it originate? Is it part of only Buddhism or is it part of other religions as well? We'll comprehensively take a look at all of these issues. Okay, so now that we are done with the introduction of today's topics, let's start with topic number one, which is adjourned sine die. Now, the first session of 18th Lok Sabha was adjourned sine die after passage of motion of thanks on the President's address to the joint session of both houses of Parliament. Now, look, this was the first session for 18th Lok Sabha, the newly elected Lok Sabha. And as far as the president is concerned, the president has a few powers with respect to the parliament. President, as per Indian constitution, can summon the houses of parliament. That means if president summons them, then they have to meet. And the president can terminate a particular session of parliament. Okay. Now, in our constitution, the word that is used for termination is prorogation. Okay. So when the president wants that the house should be in session or parliament should be in session, well, he summons the parliament. When he wants to end that session, he prorogues the parliament. Okay. Now, before prorogation of any session of parliament, the presiding officer of that particular house actually passes or adjourns the house sine die. Okay, when he adjourns the house sine die, then it is a signal to the president that he can prorogue that particular session of Lok Sabha. And if chairman of Rajya Sabha passes adjournment sine die, then president will prorogue the session of Rajya Sabha. Okay, generally president prorogues both houses of parliament together. All right, now this is all that is about, all that you need to know about the constitutional provisions with respect to Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So, President will summon the House, both houses will meet, they will discuss the important issues of the nation, and when the entire business of Parliament is completed, the presiding officer of that particular House, Speaker or Chairman, will pass adjournment sine die. That would be a signal to the President that he should prorogue the session of that House. Okay, now that means if the Speaker of Lok Sabha has passed adjourned sine die, that means the business of Lok Sabha has been completed. Well, the major business or the major important task that was to be covered by this Lok Sabha, first session of 18th Lok Sabha, was to complete the discussion on motion of thanks to the President's address. We have discussed this before, that President shall address the joint sitting of the Parliament. As per Article 87 of the Constitution, President shall address the joint sitting of Parliament, both houses of Parliament, at the first session every year and or after every new Lok Sabha, first session of every new Lok Sabha. Now, what were the highlights of this session, which began on June 24th? Well, Om Birla ji was chosen as the Lok Sabha Speaker. This session had 7 sittings spread over 36 hours. Productivity of the House was more than 100%. 539 members of Lok Sabha took oath in this first session. 68 members participated in the debate over motion of thanks, and eventually motion of thanks was passed. Now, here are a few key facts that you need to know. Adjournment sine die, I've explained to you. Here's the definition. Okay. Now, after adjournment signed die, the president prorogues or terminates the session of the Houses of Parliament. Now, this power of prorogation to the president is provided by the Constitution. And which article of the Constitution? Article 85, Clause 2. Now, motion of thanks. Listen, President's address is mentioned in the Constitution, but nowhere in our Constitution this word or this phrase is written, motion of thanks. Now, motion of thanks is a parliamentary proceeding which is mentioned in rules of procedure and conduct of business in Lok Sabha, and motion of thanks proceedings for Rajya Sabha would be mentioned in rules of procedure and conduct of business in Rajya Sabha. So, motion of thanks is nowhere mentioned in the Constitution. Yes, Constitution mentions that the Parliament shall discuss the President's address. Now, in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha's terminology, that is known as motion of thanks. All right, that's about it. That's all you need to know. Just remember that Rule 16 to Rule 24 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business in Lok Sabha govern how motion of thanks shall be tabled, discussed, and passed. Okay, so this fact you should be aware of. Okay, there are a few articles of the Constitution that you should be aware of also. Okay, you should be aware of Article 85, which is related to prorogation of House, and you need to be aware of Article 87, which is President's address to the joint sitting of Parliament. Okay, all right. Now let's move on to the next news item, which is PLI scheme to boost circular economy. First of all, what do we mean by circular economy? Well, I'll explain circular economy in detail in a few minutes from now. But basically, circular economy means that you use certain things, then you recycle them, and then you reuse them again. So first you use them, then you discard them, waste, then that is recycled, then that is put to use again, and the material actually is not never wasted. It is reused and reused. It keeps on going on and on and on and on in a circle. Okay, this is known as circular economy. Now, what is PLI scheme? PLI scheme stands for Production Linked Incentive Scheme. Now, this is a scheme that has been launched by Government of India for various sectors to boost manufacturing or production in that sector. So, PLI scheme for automobiles is there, PLI scheme for pharmaceutical sector is there, PLI scheme for electronics is there. All right. In all these sectors, PLI scheme is actually there to provide financial incentives to people who produce more and more goods. So, if a company produces a large number of goods, well, some financial incentive shall be provided by the government. Government is trying to incentivize, basically. Government is trying to incentivize production, manufacturing in India. Now, Ministry of Mines has said that they will introduce a PLI scheme for critical minerals as well, so that critical minerals in India are produced at a larger scale, because critical minerals, as the name suggests, are critical for India's economy. Okay, the aim of this PLI scheme would be to foster circular economy, okay, recycling and reusing, and to boost domestic supply chain. That means India should not be import dependent for critical minerals. India should be self-reliant, Atmanirbhar, as far as critical minerals are concerned. Now, the proposed PLI scheme aligns with the policy recommendations from Niti Aayog. Actually, Niti Aayog made certain recommendations, so this proposed PLI scheme will align with those recommendations. Plus, it is also in alignment with Battery Waste Management Rules 2022. Now, battery waste management rules, what are these rules? Well, as you know, electrical vehicles are the new norm now. Government is trying to promote usage of electric vehicles, but electric vehicles also generate a lot of waste. That waste would be when the life of an electric vehicle is over, well, then the batteries used in that electric vehicle would be wasted, right? So battery waste management rules actually are there to recycle those batteries that are wasted. Okay, lithium ion batteries. All right. Now, what are the major features of this scheme? Though this scheme is still in the making, it has not been released, but sources have said that these 3-4 things might be the features of this scheme. Okay, PLI scheme will target e-waste recycling, which is often referred to as urban mining. Just remember this fact, that e-waste recycling, that means electronic wastes. Like, for example, you throw away your phones, your electronic appliances, right? So recycling of electronic waste is known as urban mining. Through electronic waste recycling, government wants that India should recover critical minerals. Like, by throwing away, by recycling lithium-ion batteries, you can recover lithium, copper, cobalt, graphite, chromium, silicon. And all these are critical minerals, critical for India's economy of the future. This will incentivize production of recycled critical minerals for secondary use and promote investment in advanced recycling technologies and infrastructure. Well, why did the government why did the government announce that they would come out with such a scheme? Why? Because at this very moment, critical minerals are in short supply in India, are in very short supply. Okay. Recently, government actually auctioned various mining blocks of critical minerals. But that auction was very poor in its performance. That auction was very poor. Not many investors bidded for those mining blocks of critical minerals. That means critical mineral exploration would not be there in India, or would be at a very low level. And therefore, India would be short of critical mineral supply. Because not many investors have bidded for these critical mineral mining blocks. So government has said, then how can we secure the supply of critical minerals? Well, we can secure them through urban mining or through recycling. Okay. Plus, there is a statistic that came out recently that e-waste generation in India is going to skyrocket in the near future. That means that electronic waste should be recycled if you want to improve your domestic supply of critical minerals. Okay. By the way, critical minerals are everywhere. It is used to create batteries, for MRIs, for nuclear medicine, for fertilizers, for LCD screens, electronics, fireworks, everywhere. It is used in telecom, energy, defense, aerospace, transportation. Now, a few minutes back, I told you that I'll explain to you what circular economy is in detail. So here is a chart. Basically, what is circular economy? So to create, I'll explain it to you through an example also. So to create lithium ion batteries, first you need to acquire raw material, right? That raw material would be lithium in this case. Then you will design it. You will use lithium ion batteries. Okay. Then you will throw it away. It will be collected. Then it will be recycled. Okay. And then it will be reused. So the material goes on and on. Lithium never gets wasted. It gets reused, recycled again and again and again and again. And in a circle, it moves on. Okay. It is used, then thrown away, recycled, reused, and the cycle goes on and on. So this is basically circular economy, and it shouldn't be the case for lithium. It should be the case for everything. And that is why India is taking so many steps for making circular economy a norm. It shouldn't be for lithium only, it should be for everything. Okay. So that you reduce the amount of waste generated in India. Okay. Now let's move on to the third news item, which is UNCTAD report on global trade. Well, this is the United Nations Organization on Trade and Development. It has said that India and China have exhibited very strong quarter over quarter export performance. So India and China both are emerging economies, emerging market economies. Okay. It is said that their export performance has increased in the first quarter of 2024 as per United Nations Trade and Development. All right. Now, what are the reasons cited by UNCTAD in its report? Where they say that global inflation is moderating, and because goods are becoming less expensive, demand for goods and services has increased, and that is why exports of these goods has increased. So that is the major reason for their improved export performance. Plus, there is rising demand for products related to energy transition. So, for example, products related to energy transition. Look, we are transitioning from coal-based thermal power plants to solar power plants. So, for that, you need new equipment. So, there is rising demand for this new equipment. You are shifting to EV, electrical vehicles, not petrol or diesel based engines, right? So for that, you require new types of goods and services for transitioning to electric vehicles. So demand for these types of goods has increased, plus demand for artificial intelligence related products has increased. For example, demand for chips, electronic chips, graphics processing units, it has all increased. And that is why export performance has increased. All right. Now, this is good news that what UNCTAD has said in its report. But UNCTAD says that all is not well. Plus, in the near future, there are some downside risks to global trade as well. There are some downside risks. What are those downside risks? Well, persistent geopolitical tensions. Tensions between China and Taiwan, tensions between China and Philippines, tensions between Russia and rest of Europe, right? So these geopolitical tensions might hamper global trade. Plus, shipping costs have increased. So that would mean transportation costs for goods and services have increased. That would increase the price of goods and services, which would eventually dampen demand for these goods and services and hence slow down to global trade. Okay. Plus, global supply is becoming increasingly concentrated in the hands of a few major exporters. Maximum number of goods are being exported by a few major countries. That is because these few major countries provide their manufacturers huge subsidies. So these manufacturers are able to sell their produce in the global market at a very reduced price. Okay, and that's because their governments are providing them with subsidies. And only well-off, well-to-do countries can provide subsidies. Okay, poor countries, even though they are manufacturing better quality products, they are not able to provide subsidies, and hence their products are more expensive in the global market. And that is why major countries, developed countries, emerging market countries, are able to outbid or outdo small countries, and small countries are losing out on their export share. And majority of products are being manufactured by these few major exporters. Now this is bad for global trade, bad for smaller economies. Plus various countries are taking unilateral actions in form of their industrial policies. Now this might lead to increased protectionism. If China is providing more subsidies to its products, well then USA will also do that, India will also do that. Plus India and USA will put more tax on Chinese products. So this might even trigger protectionism, retaliatory actions, which would eventually harm rule-based global trading system. Okay, so this is what is cited by UNCTAD. Let's talk a bit more about UNCTAD. You need to be familiar with this body. So it is very important for prelims. Okay, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development is a permanent intergovernmental body of UN. It was established in 1964. Its headquarters is in Geneva, Switzerland. Its main aim is to promote sustainable development in developing countries through international trade, investment, finance, technology transfer. Now, every year UNCTAD releases a few reports. These are the names of these reports, and this is very important for you to remember because these types of questions are asked in prelims. Okay, generally you'll see that these types of questions, for example, they'll say trade and development report is released by which of the following international organizations, and then they'll give you four options. So world development report, trade development report, least developed countries, commodities and development, information and economy, technology and innovation. All right, and that's about it. Now let's move on to our fourth news item, very important news item for history, art and culture. Abhay Mudra in Indian culture. As you can see over here, Rahul Gandhi, in his first speech as leader of opposition, uh, actually referred to Abhay Mudra. Now, what is Abhay Mudra? As you can see over here, this is Abhay Mudra, and you can see that this mudra is made by various gods and goddesses in both Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, by various gods and goddesses. Okay, this mudra is made in various sculptures of various gods and goddesses in Indian culture, right? Now, this Abhay Mudra actually means that the god is telling to his devotees that you should stay calm, you should not worry, feel free from fear. Don't be afraid. This is what Abhay Mudra is. So Rahul Gandhi was basically making a point that you guys call yourself Hindus, yet you are generating a lot of fear through violence. So even gods of Indian culture actually say that you should be free from fear. Okay, so that sort of political statement he made, but while referring to Indian culture. Now, the Abhay Mudra, as per Rahul Gandhi, is a common thread in depictions of Lord Shiva, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Jesus Christ in India, depictions of Jesus Christ in India, Islam, Buddhism, Jainism. Everywhere, this Abhay Mudra is seen. Now, the question is, again, I'm explaining this topic in its entirety because it is very important for your syllabus of art and culture. Plus, a question on mudras, Buddhist mudras, has been asked in prelims a few years back. So it's an important topic. Okay. So what are mudras? So what is mudra basically? As you can see, Buddhist sculpture, Lord Buddha is this is Abhay Mudra. Okay. So basically in Sanskrit, mudra means a lot of things. It means a seal, mark, sign, currency, money. Mudra means a lot of things. But in Buddhist context, mudra refers to hand and arm gestures made during the course of a ritual practice. Either you are practicing yoga or performing any ritual, or depicted in the images of Buddha, Bodhisattva, Tantric gods, other Buddhist images. Okay, initially these mudras were an exclusive part of Buddhist culture. Okay, initially all these mudras were an exclusive part of Buddhist culture, but later on they were adopted by all the other religions in India also. Over time, the Abhay Mudra appeared in depictions of Hindu deities as well. Now, let's talk a bit more about the origin of these mudras. Okay, now listen to me. Buddha was born in 5th to 6th century, basically 6th century BC. All right, and after Buddha's death, Gautam Buddha's death, for 500 years, there was no sculpture, no image depicting Lord Buddha. No sculpture, no image. For 500 years since his death, Buddha was not depicted in human form. He was depicted through symbols. All right. But at the start of first century AD, since the start of first century AD, Buddhist sculpture started appearing. Okay, Buddhist images, Buddha in his own personal form, human form basically, started appearing. Okay, and sculptures, various schools of sculptures started coming up in India. So there was this Gandhara school of art, which depicted Buddha in a different form, and it was more popular in northwestern India. There was this Mathura school of art. That was this school of art depicted Buddha in a different form and was popular in Uttar Pradesh and central India. And there was this Amravati school of art. This school of sculpture making was popular in South India and it also depicted Buddha. So when these schools of sculpture making started flourishing, well, only then Buddha was being depicted in his human form. And when Buddha was depicted in his human form, mostly he was depicted showcasing four mudras. Okay. Number one is Abhay Mudra, which you have seen. Then the other is Bhumi Sparsha Mudra. Bhumi Sparsha Mudra means that you're touching the earth, as you can see over here. This is Bhumi Sparsha Mudra. Then there is Dharma Chakra Mudra. This is Buddha is depicted doing this also. This is Dharma Chakra Mudra. Dharma Chakra Mudra means wheel of wisdom is moving. Okay. And the other is Dhyan Mudra. As you can see, many Buddhists who meditate, they meditate in this Dhyan Mudra. This is known as Dhyan Mudra. So this is the mudra of meditation. So in its early days, Buddha was depicted performing these four mudras only. But with the evolution of Mahayana Buddhism, as you know, Buddhism actually split into three sects: Mahayana, Heenyan, and Vajrayana. Well, Vajrayana and Mahayana Buddhism actually was more. It actually was more interested in making Buddhist sculptures. Heenyan was not interested in making Buddhist sculptures. So, with the evolution of Mahayana and Vajrayana, which is the tantric form of Buddhism, Buddhism actually spread to other parts of the world as well, to China, Japan, South Korea, Tibet. And when it spread to other parts of the world, well, then those cultures also incorporated their mudras into Buddhist mudras. So with that, proliferation of Buddhist artwork outside India happened, and hundreds of new mudras entered Buddhist iconography. All right. So that's all about mudras. You need to know about mudras. Okay. Just be conscious of the fact that initially for the first 500 years there were no mudras because Buddha was not depicted in his human form. Then after the flourishing of Gandhara school of sculpture making, Mathura school of sculpture making, Amravati school of sculpture making, Buddha was being depicted in his human form, and he was actually practicing a form of mudra in that sculpture. Okay. Initially there were four mudras: Abhay, Bhumi Sparsh, Dharma Chakra, and Dhyan Mudra. All right. So, yeah, with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I hope you enjoyed today's session. It was enriching for you all. Though it will be more enriching, it will be more value adding if you follow this lecture series for consistently for a very long period of time, at least 1 year. Okay. So, make this lecture series a part of your daily routine. And I'll see you next time with July 4th newspaper. Thank you.